Self-improvement is masturbation. Tyler Durden said that in Fight Club, and he wasn't wrong. We have all these alpha gurus telling us to be bigger, stronger, faster, but if you're already dead, that's just polishing a tombstone. I'm not interested in men's improvement. I'm interested in men's resurrection. One wound, one truth, one action at a time. Look, these 5 books I'm going to show you, they're the tools that God used to dig me out of the grave and resurrect me. And I'm going to show you one more, the 6th one, a bonus one, if you will, because this book, it's probably the most important book that you've never heard of. I guarantee it'll change your life, so stick around for that. Let me just explain to you what I'm talking about. A few years ago, I had my midlife death. I hit it head on. 3 years practically catatonic, sitting in front of a television. My marriage in shambles. My kids didn't talk to me. My business had failed. My ministry was gone, and, well, I didn't really want to be alive anymore. My faith, it was hanging by a thread. But in that point, these 5 books came to me like tools for digging out of the grave, for being a resurrected man. This isn't a list. This is the path that I was on. You see, the first thing I needed was a shovel. That shovel was the first book, Iron John by Robert Bly. You see, in this book, Robert Bly tells you that where a man's wound is, that's where his genius is. But I didn't need genius. I just wanted the pain to go away. But reading this book, it exposed me to the wild man, that thing inside of me that had been tamed. And it helped me to understand that what was broken in me, the shame, the failure, the feeling like I'd never measure up, that didn't disqualify me. It actually was a doorway into who I have always been, but I was just afraid to live. Now, the problem with digging is once you start digging, you go into the black. You can't see. I needed a light. And the second book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, that was a light. Viktor Frankl had lived through more pain and suffering than anybody I could even imagine. Viktor Frankl walked through Auschwitz. He walked through the murder of his whole family. He lost everything. And he came out of that experience with a truth that most men never even touch. If you have a big enough why, you can deal with any what. You can deal with any how. My problem was I didn't have a why. I wasn't afraid of suffering. I was afraid that my suffering had no meaning and no purpose. And Viktor Frankl made me understand that it was meaning that I was missing. Because I could deal with suffering, but I couldn't live without meaning and purpose. In the darkness, I had a light now, but I couldn't really see who I was in the middle of that. And that brings us to the third book, The Mirror, From Wild Man to Wise Man by Richard Rohr. In this book, Father Rohr, he didn't comfort me. He confronted me. Because in this book, Richard Rohr tells you that whatever pain isn't transformed, it gets transmitted. Whatever pain isn't transformed, It gets transferred. And I looked at my life. I looked at my wife and my kids and my business and my ministry, and I realized that my pain wasn't transformed, and I was bleeding out on everybody around me. That I looked across the beach and there was collateral damage everywhere. Richard Rohr showed me something that Ned Flanders' churchianity never would, and that was simply this: there is no resurrection unless you pick up your cross and die. My problem is I'd been pretending I was alive for so long, and that's what killed me. Richard Rohr invites us to take a long look at who we are, and then we can resurrect. But see, the problem here is I was out of the grave. I saw the light. I knew who I was now, but I didn't know where to go with it. And the fourth book is the compass. The fourth book is King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. In this book, Gillette and Moore, they finally showed me what a picture of adult masculinity really looked like. They showed me 4 energies that make up a man, that make up every man. The king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. In my life, the warrior was the energy that I most loved and related to. So in my rulership, I ruled like a conqueror. In my worship, in my priest, in my magician part of who I was, I tried to compete. Like, how do you win at meditation and prayer? And in the lover part of who I was, in the part of me that's a husband and a father, I attacked problems like I was trying to win a battle. This book was a compass that made me realize that to be a real man, a complete man, an integrated man, I had to make peace with all of the different parts of who I was and, well, give them all a say in how I moved forward into this resurrection. So now I'm resurrected, but how do I know if I'm strong enough to walk the whole journey? I needed an owner's manual. And book 5 is an owner's manual. Atomic Habits by James Clear is not a self-help book. See, in this book, James Clear, he points out so brilliantly that we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the levels of our systems. I mean, sure, we all want to be an astronaut. We all want to be a fireman. But if we don't have structures in place, if we don't have systems to work towards that goal, we will never rise to those goals. We only go as far as our systems and our structures take us. James Clear showed me very, very simply that if you get up and you make your bed in the morning, that's one repeatable action that keeps you from being the man you were yesterday. If you walk the dogs, if you pick up the poo, if you make your wife coffee in the morning, and you repeat that, it becomes ingrained in who you are. It's a structure and a system that helps you move into the kind of man that will never again accept who you were yesterday. James Clear made me realize that resurrection isn't an event. Resurrection is a decision every single day to be more than the man you were yesterday. Now, I told you that I was going to give you a 6th book, and that 6th book, it's the shadow book, Under Saturn's Shadow by James Hollis. This book isn't an easy read. It's not easy emotionally, and it's not easy intellectually. In this book, James Hollis tells us that the primary task of every man is to grow up. Not grow old, not to age, but to grow. All of the things that held me back in life, my fear, my shame, my abandonment issues, my desire for somebody, anybody, to say they were proud of me. To hope that someday I could look in the mirror and not feel like a failure. Under Saturn's shadow showed me that I was afraid that one day I'd look in the mirror and say, what was the fucking point? This book was not comfortable. It was confronting in the deepest way. This book was not encouraging, but it was necessary. Because if a man resurrects without knowing what killed him in the first place, he's destined to go right back in the tomb. If any of this made you curious at all, I made a list. I call it the Omega Resurrection Library. 30 books that saved my life. And look, I'm just giving it to you for free. There's a link in the description, and I guarantee these 30 books they'll change your life. They'll resurrect you. Look, you may have a friend that's struggling with this midlife death. Maybe he's made it through the midlife death, but he's just lost. He doesn't know where to go. If you have a friend like that, someone you know who might need this video, please share it with them. These books really helped me. They changed my life, and I just want them to help other people. I just want to ask you one last question. What if we weren't made to be better? What if we were made as men to be dangerous? Because I'll tell you, there is nothing more dangerous to this world than a resurrected man. Omega men are resurrected men. Omega men finish what the alphas only start. Be dangerous.